What's the creepiest thing that you've seen other families do that they accept as totally normal? Growing up, my best friend's family didn't have traditional snacks like fruit roll-ups, gushers, etc. They ate sticks of butter. Sticks of butter. Whenever they offered me some, I always told them I wasn't hungry. They had multiple packages of butter in the fridge and freezer. They didn't consume the entire stick, rather would cut off pieces. They weren't poor, they weren't fat, but they were crazy. Ha 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 ha, what the? I met my friend's, now ex-boyfriend, for the first time and we all smoked weed together. Oh my god. Friend's BF got the munchies, so we stopped off at the grocery store. He bought an enormous block of cheddar cheese and a bottle of ranch dressing. In the car, he unwrapped the cheese as he went along, and poured a generous dollop of thick ranch on every massive bite as he devoured the entire block of cheese in the span of about 10 minutes. That's the closest I've ever come to witnessing something like what you're describing. I remember it was when Euro 2004 happened. I went to a friend's house for a sleepover. I was 12 years old then. So we go to his house where his and my mom dropped us there and left. His dad was there though. I never liked this man. Anyway, he welcomed us with the most unwelcoming manner, like he hated to have me for sleepover. We proceeded to his room, and played on his PS2. After half an hour, his dad enters the room and says, "Okay, I think it's about time, Michael, my friend." So Michael sits up and unplugs the PS2 and hands it to his father, who takes it and places it on top of a high shelf. Then, the dad makes a hug gesture, like welcoming Michael to hug him, saying "speak the words," and Michael hugs his father saying, "Thanks father for reminding me to be moderate with distractions from the real life." The hug ends, he nods us to go to sleep. I went to sleep totally weirded out due to the happening, and cause my child brain back then felt bad for playing PS2 like it was bad. The next morning we wake up, eat and greet his mother who was there. Michael goes to his father and knees before him and says, "Please father, can I be distracted for a while?" His mother was making coffee like it was totally normal to have her son knee in front of her husband and beg for his joy as if it was a sin. His father looks at me, then to Michael, and goes and brings down the PS2 like it was the worst thing he had to do. I didn't even touch the controller. I was totally uncomfortable in there. Never sleep over there again. Never. Ever. I went to elementary school with this really nice girl. She was the eldest of 4 girls, all perfectly healthy and beautiful. Kids were laughing at her because she was smelling really bad. I talked to her about it and she told me that her mother makes her wear the same cloths for a week before washing them. Her mother was really busy praying to have a son. She was in the church at 6 a.m. every morning and spent a lot of time there, always praying to have a son. Well, the miracle happened and she had a son. That's all they could talk about. It was like Jesus himself was reborn. It was weird. Maybe 2 to 3 ago I saw her in the bus. The first thing she told me, after not seeing each other for maybe 30 years, was, "Did you know I have a brother?" I was speechless. Definitely has to be my neighbors when I was younger. I hung out and played with these 3 siblings. They were all pretty normal kids, but the mom seemed kind of clingy. During the summer we would play outside a lot. Baseball. Hockey. Go-karts. Swimming. The norm. Every single day at about 12, the mom would call the kids back to the house, one at a time. They would have to go inside for about a half hour, then come out and the next kid would go in. Never thought too much about it, until one day I was actually in their house with them and found out why she called them. She had mandatory cuddle time with each of the kids. They would lay on the couch, and she would spoon them, in the quiet, for about 30 minutes each. Weirdest thing I've ever encountered. Edit, no, her name was not Beverly Goldberg. There was a weird kid in my neighborhood named Neil. He had a club foot. That's not what was weird, it's just sort of memorable. Anyway, we were invited to his birthday party down the street. His parents sent invites that we were to bring a present and $10 to cover the costs of hosting the party. My mom was annoyed and confused but sent us with the presents and the money. We had to give the money to Neil's parents before they let us in the house. We were each given 1 water balloon to throw, and exactly 1 slice of cake. Then we gave this kid his present and his parents sent everybody home after maybe half an hour. That's so incredibly trashy. I feel bad for that guy. Went to a friend's house when I was 17. She asked her mom for a snack and her mom brought out a huge raw white onion completely slathered in mayo on a plate, and she and my friend just went at it with their forks like it was filet mignon. 3 years later and I still think about that from time to time. Sounds like a pretty good strategy, actually. Get your kids accustomed to eating super inexpensive, weird, like raw onions and mayo early on, save a ton of money on food. Dad, you want some of my mayo onion? No thank you, son. That's your special snack. I'll just have these nasty Doritos. This is actually abuse, and my mom did call CPS on them, but I'll say it anyway. We knew a family growing up that the father would time their showers, literally 15 seconds under cold water. He would stand there and watch and then grab them out, one after the other. They were not allowed to poop in the house. He had toilet paper for emergencies and guests. If they had to poop, he would pass them 5 squares of TP total, and watch them wipe. They trained themselves to only poop at school and church. Summer would get to be 100 and still not air or fans in their bedroom, no open windows. Probably about 20 more insane rules. Weird food rules. Very 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 sad. Edit. Regarding the toilet paper. They had 5 squares total. If they needed more, too bad, so sad. Pull your pants up and deal with it. Sad face. I know a woman who was a manager at the restaurant my wife worked at who was living through her 13-year-old girl to an extreme level. The girl would come up to the restaurant from school and her mom would trash her for how her makeup was and ask her how she expected to get Brent or Jason or whoever looking like that. 90% of what she talked about with co-workers was her daughter's school drama. She would read her texts, give her strategies and things to say, etc. Always trashing her appearance or telling her she needed to dress sluttier before going to the football game and weird like that. Talked about how she encouraged boys coming over and how she liked to spy/eavesdrop, and with a twinkle of pride, told us how she walked in daughter's room recently and found her coming out from under the covers in her bed this boy was in, right in the middle of a possible BJ. I was 16 dating a 14-year-old and this could easily have been her mom. She was always trying to get us to, basically made rules that meant the only way I could see her daughter was to spend hours in the girl's bedroom, just the girl and me, and yeah, we usually ended up in bed. But this was the 90s and we were taught that having would lead immediately to pregnancy and death by HIV/AIDS, so we usually just spent hours between third base and home plate, but never scored any runs, because, you know, pregnancy and death. So did you get pregnant and die? I was about 7 to 8. I used to play with this girl that lived a few houses down and across the street. I live in a cookie cutter, very safe, and fairly decent neighborhood, across the street from the high school. Her mother never let us play outside because there could be a drive-by. Any car we see driving by could be someone with a gun and could very easily shoot us and kill us. She never let us play in the living room near the windows either for that same reason. Another time I was over there playing with my friend, and the mom pulled me aside. She pointed to a truck she saw parked outside my house on the curb, my uncle's truck. She told me that it's actually probably a burglar and he was inside my house and killing my family at that moment. She wouldn't let me go home either for the fear of me also getting killed. She finally let me go home after my mom called later and requested I come home for dinner. That family is still crazy, even 13 years later. I went to a friend's house and we put some cartoons on. While we were watching I asked him a question but he didn't respond. He was fixated on the TV, absolutely glued. His childminder just laughed, "Oh, he'll be like that all evening now." So I just had to wait for my parents to pick me up whilst he unflinchingly watched TV for hours. That is creepy.